All right, guys, welcome back. Chief Kerr, Crowdology. We have a really simple concept for you today, but it's something that we continue to coach and talk about here at Krav Maga Houston. That is, what do we do when we're making a straight punch, and how does our elbow play a role in how powerful that straight punch is? So essentially what I want to talk to you about is your elbow leaking? So you set up in fighting stance, right? The elbow should be down. I talk to my students about making a vertical line right here, right? That's the way to think about it. And what happens typically is when I have this vertical line right here, if you start to punch and the elbow starts to roll out, not only do you telegraph, which we're not going to discuss today, we also make a punch where we're no longer aligned with our body and our power. And so as the power comes through, oftentimes we get what we call power leakage at the elbow, right, where that structure is bent. I'm not saying you can't throw hook punches, I'm not saying you can't throw overhands, I'm saying the alignment is off, and as a result there's a leak in power. So I'm going to bring Simon in and talk to you about these two things, where you're aligned and where you're not aligned, and we'll get a sense of what we're doing here. So if we're using a focus mitt and I'm making a punch and I'm worried about power leakage, what I'm typically looking for is the elbow leaving the body like this. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to pull my elbow up so you can see I'm in this position. See, it's bent, right? And so what happens is the power gets feedback from the target, comes back through here. It wants to be reinforced, but some leaks through here, right? So this is particularly important with a straight punch. So I could come through here and really try and hit hard, and that's not it. But when I do that, there's power leakage. What happens with people on the mitts, and what you'll notice if you're coaching, is they'll never finish their punch. The reason is there's a little bit of power leakage at the elbow, and they feel like they've dumped their power. So they do something like this, bam, and they bring it back, and you go, oh, you gotta finish your punch. You gotta straighten your arm out a little bit more. Don't hyperextend, but make sure you're finishing your punch. And what they're actually doing is they're thinking, I dumped all my power in, right? Because there's some missing here. So if I allow myself to align my elbow properly, go vertical here and keep the point of the elbow facing down and just turn my wrist to make my punch instead of my arm, what happens is, and I'm just gonna jab at this, but I get much better contact and much better force on target and the capacity to drive through the target. So when people talk to you about bringing your elbow down, part of the success you'll have is starting with your elbow down, starting vertically on this line, and the other piece is allowing your arm to stay with the elbow pointed down while you turn your fist, so that you're making power. And now as I punch, all this is connected back to my body, right? And we were doing this earlier, and I was still jabbing at it, but you could feel there was a fair amount of power there, right? And I can hit really hard like this, and I can feel it leaving. And I can half as hard this way, and there's nothing happening. It's all reinforced, right? So what I want you to do is focus on the vertical line, focus on what your elbow is doing, and focus on your wrist turning to align your knuckles to punch without letting your elbow leak. The last piece of this is once I punch, boom, I need to bring my elbow back to the shelf, not back here in front as if my ribs are a shelf. When I do that, I set myself up for vertical alignment. I allow myself less telegraphing, and I'm set again to make a powerful punch with the elbow pointed to the ground. As always, there's a question box or a comment box at the bottom of the page. If you have a question or a comment, please send it to me. Otherwise, walk in peace.